In our last video, we started an insane journey comparing a $1 pet to a $100,000 shark. It all started with this sketchy $1 axolotl listing I found online. I had to see if it was real.
But when I got it home, I realized it was missing a hand. I started a high nutrient diet to help it regenerate. We built him a massive new home with soft sand and plants so he can grow back his limb safely.
Then we moved up to $100 for a massive army of 7 bags of bright red cherry shrimp.
We made them an epic tank with a broken SpongeBob house and these fire-glowing bubbles.
They hated vegetables, but they actually started eating a piece of raw steak. It was insane to watch.
Now, get ready, because we're moving on to the $1,000 coral tank and finally the $100,000 sharks. Let's go. And dang, look at this video the seller sent me. It already has so much fish and stuff in it. Let's go see if this is legit. So yeah, I drove out to the seller and got the tank into my car. And although there was definitely something off about it, as you can see, it's quite a bit dirty, a lot dirtier than it was listed on Facebook. And I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be fish inside, but I'm not seeing anything. We gotta get this home ASAP. So I quickly drove home and got it out at my house. All right, guys, I just got this back to my setup, and look at this. There's actually a fish inside. Yo, there's a clownfish. Do you see that? Yeah, I guess you can't really see it because it's so dirty. But yeah, let me set up all this stuff. So yeah, I first added in the extra water I had taken out to transport it. Then I put in the heater, a wave maker, a water filter, and of course, the lights. And then I let it sit for a couple hours to clear up, and oh my gosh, the whole tank came alive very quickly. You could see the clownfish swimming around next to the anemone, the little shrimp constantly moving around everywhere, and there was even a literal sea urchin. I had no clue this was all gonna be included in the tank. But this place would look way crazier if it had tons of rare glowing corals and stuff. So yeah, we definitely gotta go buy some of those.
So I drove back out to the aquarium store where I had bought those plants from earlier and found out they also had a massive coral section. Yo, this is sick how some of these corals glow. And look, that clownfish is checking that coral out. It also brought $400 for a single piece of coral. That's kind of crazy.
If you didn't know, corals literally have thousands of tiny little animals called polyp that live inside of them. And in order to see them come out, and I bought this big bag of coral and brought it home. Now, corals can be extremely delicate, so it's a good thing we already got this set up tank, but otherwise our corals would probably die. But because this is set up, it's as simple as just dumping the water from the bags out and putting all the corals I bought inside. Then over the next hour, I slowly added water from our current tank into this temporary tray. Yeah, a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it because
I started to add these corals around the tank in the places I thought would look best. And I left my camera recording so we could see them come alive.
the first one I noticed movement from was this top one that we could see the little tentacles of the polyp animals on here starting to come out. And this green one also started to lean up pretty fast as well. The polyps on these corals use all these little tentacle things to eat up food, which I'll show very soon. Yo, look at these corals, they're looking sick. The only ones that haven't popped out are these two at the bottom. So I guess I'll just leave them be. And in the meantime, let's feed this tank so we can figure out how alive everything in here actually is. The fish in tanks like this love stuff called brain shrimp. And basically you pop one of these frozen cubes in a cup of water and they completely start to thaw out into tons of tiny shrimp that you could put into the tank. Instantly, you could see how all the fish in here, like this blue damselfish, started to gulp up the food. The clownfish was also eating some of it.
While sticking near this anemone that had come with the tank when I bought it. If you don't know what an anemone is, well, it's actually an animal.
And they have thousands of microscopic needles on their tentacles to sting and stay safe from fish. And also, they're able to move around through tanks on their own somehow.
But for some reason, clownfish evolved to be immune to the stinging. So they just constantly stay near anemones, so no other animals will disturb them.
But interestingly, there's also these coral shrimp in here that will eat the brine shrimp with their tiny little claws. And there's other animals which you don't need to feed. It's like these cool sea snails which go along the glass-eating algae, and these sea urchins which do the same. Pretty cool. Finally, we can't forget to feed the corals.
With this stuff, and it's pretty cool to watch. Let me show you. Yeah, you can kind of just use this thing as a spray bottle under the water to shoot
food at the corals. You can see how the little tentacles of the polyps react to the tasty food and close up a bit.
The green one was especially cool too.
Watch along with the smaller green one where you could really see the little tentacle arms grabbing the food and closing it up to consume it. Dang, the ocean is actually so
Cool. All right, I just got this set up in my kitchen and stuff like the anemone is still opening up, but honestly for $1,000, it's so cool seeing all the different life in here. I'm gonna rate this thing an 8 out of 10. But there's one type of aquatic pet that's a lot cooler than everything I've showed so far. It's time to show you guys what it's like to have a literal pet shark.
Yes, sir. Now, I could go buy some sort of small baby shark species online and build it a small little tank, but that would be boring.
I wanna see a big, fierce shark. So I hopped on a plane and flew across the country to this very fish store called Aquatics and Exotics.
When I walked inside, I was immediately greeted by some absolutely insane tanks.
When I walked inside, I was immediately greeted by some absolutely insane tanks.
This one had massive freshwater stingrays. This one had a super cool pig-nosed turtle that had a nose that looks like a pig.
But right here at the back of the store is where the insanely massive tank that is filled to the brim with sharks is located.
Yo, these sharks are crazy. Yep, this tank has 17,000 gallons of water because it contains not only this nurse shark, which like to
Spend most of their time chilling at the bottom of the tank, but also these two super fierce blacktip reef sharks, which are known to be some of the most aggressive sharks in the world. And the craziest thing is how you feed them when they're your pet. So I got introduced to a store employee named Sky so I could
Show you just that. You are kind of the one in charge of taking care of all these sharks, right?
Yep. 2 bate on a stank pack shark in. Yep. 2 black tips and a nurse shark in here.
Dang, that is so cool. I'm on the mission to kind of find the craziest pet you can keep. Would you say keeping sharks is kind of crazy? Like, is that kind of cool?
It's definitely one up there. Not many people can say they have real sharks in their house.
For sure. But why do you have to have a tank that is so massive for these sharks?
Specifically for the black tips. They are a shark that in the wild requires to be in constant motion to get oxygen through their gills.
Yep, the blacktip reef sharks in specific literally need to constantly be moving in order to get water and therefore oxygen flowing through their gills. So, are these blacktip sharks fully grown?
No, they're still actually young males.
Wow. So they're gonna get a lot bigger than this, no?
Quite at least twice.
Nah, these sharks are still gonna get twice as big. I can't even imagine what they're gonna eat when they get bigger. So I'd say I wanna see these guys eat. Can we feed these guys some food?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see what I'm feeding them today?
Yes, let's do that. Go grab it. So Sky brought out an absolute buffet. All right, so what are we gonna be feeding these sharks today?
So that is a light feeding. That's about 2 pounds of shrimp right there.
As she went behind the scenes to feed the sharks all these shrimp, you can see how she started by splashing her hand in the water to alert the sharks that it was feeding time.
Yo, they're trying to eat my GoPro. But eventually it was feeding time. So Sky started to toss massive handfuls of the shrimp into the tank, which if you couldn't guess, the sharks instantly picked up the scent and they absolutely started to annihilate these shrimp. Yo, this guy's about to gulp that shrimp up. Oh my gosh. Yo, look at all these shrimp in front of me. All these sharks are just going crazy for him. But it wasn't only cool to see how the black tips move around.
To eat the shrimp because Sky also showed the GoPro how she trained the nurse shark to come to the surface so she could drop pieces of shrimp in so that guy could eat as well. Dang that.
Is so cool to watch. Well, Sky, that was probably the coolest feeding of an aquatic pet I've ever seen. This is honestly one of the coolest pets I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Yep. Seriously, thank you so much to Aquatics and Exotics for showing me these sharks. They're an awesome fish store located in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And of course, guys, don't forget about the merch. We just dropped our first new shirt design in a long time. And I mean, serious, this one's by far my favorite. And
Yeah, thank you for watching. Seriously, it means a lot. And hopefully you learned something about animals. And this is my dog, and goodbye.